know that we continue to burn fossil fuels. We know that the volcanoes continue to add carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide is leading to what is known as global warming. So in the history of the Earth, it is for the first time that a species begins to control the global climate functionality. And where is it becoming hot? It is becoming hot on all continents, rich, poor, first world, third world, on land and in ocean. Whether you take natural forcing or anthropogenic forcing, you find that basically the earth is heating up. Take, for example, the simulation of 1880. The gray areas is no data, but we can still see that Iceland and the steppe, the taiga and the tundra are all nice and cold in blue, while the desert areas are warm. Take, for example, our Thar Desert and the Gobi Desert. So this is the situation that we find in 1880. And this is the situation that we have in 2050. 2050, I think so all of us will be alive. So now you can see that the entire globe is heated up. The Arctic Circle is melting. Antarctica is melting. And very important commercial hubs on all continents are in the oven. So this situation is scary because in another 20 years, this will start to play out. We have recently witnessed this effect even in India. We had 53 degrees, for example. And everywhere, I am in Europe now, feeling the heat even today. Lot of parts of Australia, California, you know what's happening with the forest fire. Everything is beginning to burn and melt. And that's significant because humans can make observations and then, of course, collate them. Now we know that the Arctic is melting, navigable. No more the US requires the Suez Canal or the Gulf or the Panama Canal. In fact, Trump wants to buy Greenland so that he can navigate through the Arctic, supply things to China and Japan through the Arctic Sea. Therefore, he cozies up with Putin because obviously ships would have to pass Russian territory. So we can see that global climate scenarios are forcing staunch enemies to come together and great friends to break apart. That's the geopolitics that climate change can force and foresee. So we know that what was not navigable in, say, 1884 is navigable from 2060. And therefore, things have changed globally. All predictive models, and I use this IPC model, predict that if there is increase in temperatures globally, then of course evaporation changes, and greater the evaporation, more the rainfall. So this is the map of the world showing how precipitation occurs or will get affected in the coming years. So where is it hot? Of course, it is hot in Iran, Balochistan, in Central Asia, in Turkey, in southern Europe. I sit now here in Portugal, realizing that it's going to be hot. Of course, sub-Saharan Africa. In Africa, every one of us know what happens to Cape Town. It's going to be very, very hot in Western Australia, Western United States, Western Atacama Desert in Chile, Bolivia. But it's also going to be hot in Mexico and, of course, Amazon. Where is it going to be raining? It's going to be raining definitely in tundra and taiga. That means it has become hot. The Arctic Circle will start melting. And look at the scenario for us in India. We can have more precipitation in South India. Please remember, we are trying to plan interlinking of the rivers. But now the situation, the climate situation says that basically we will receive more rainfall in peninsular India. And आतापर्यंत आपण पाणी अडवा पाणी जिरवा ही संकल्पना मांडत होतो. परंतु ह्याच्या पुढं कदाचित पेनिन्सुलर इंडियामध्ये we will have to basically rethink our developmental planning, especially in terms of water resources. So in the climate change scenario, we definitely know that there will be latitudinal shift. If Kerala received 3,000 millimeters of rainfall, it will receive more rainfall and more number of rainy days. Let me quiz you. Which is the rainiest place in India? And many people will say Cherrapunji or Mawson Ram. For the past 10 years, for example, Mahabaleshwar is receiving more than 8,000 millimeters of rainfall. And in a couple of years, if that happens, it will be the rainiest place in the world. That's what is happening in the Western Ghats. We see rain, rain, and floods and disruption. Yet Delhi burns at 52 degrees. What happens to the Himalayas? Obviously, the Himalayas start melting, lesser water is discharged, we build more dams in the Himalayas, stop water, and there is a problematic crisis in the Indo-Gangetic belt. Please note that groundwater levels in the Indo-Gangetic belts are falling and surface water is getting reduced because no more they tend to be perennial. The ice has already melted and retreated in many of the glaciers. So I bring you to a situation known as the Rangit window, just north of Darjeeling. This area is critical because it is south of Sikkim, and this is the agricultural hub of Sikkim. So it is drained by Teesta, again a glacial flood fed river, and then of course the Rangit River. You know what happened recently? There was a GLOF, that is a glacial lake outburst in this river. Okay, and many people died. Remember, both the rivers Teesta and Rangit are international rivers. They originate somewhere close to Tibet and pass through India and go into drain into Bangladesh. So this is an international river. What happens in Sikkim is of concern to Bangladesh. So the geology is very complicated. I shall not deal with it here, but you can see that it is dominated by limestones and phyllite. So this is the spring shed, the Chichen watershed, and of course the Salding Kamli watershed. So this is, you can see that the Rangit River actually swirls around this, and the two watersheds are divided by a water divide. So this is the mountainous terrain, nicely vegetated, lot of slopes. Some of them are 45 degrees. Roads are scarce, but you can see the number of villages, habitations. All of these villages are basically dependent on spring waters. Now you can see the DEM, where you can see very, very steep terrain. And of course, the springs are emerging. So what we did is we took rainwater